Chosen one, stop scrolling. This is not a coincidence, and this is not content you casually landed on. What you are hearing right now is a God's message, delivered in exact divine timing, and it reached you because something within you was ready before your mind had time to interfere. This video is about why your life is about to make sense in reverse, why the confusion you carried was never accidental, and why this moment marks the beginning of true clarity. If you feel that quiet pull, that inner pause that made you stay, it's because this message was not meant for everyone. It was meant for the chosen one who could recognize it. Here is what you must understand immediately. Recognition comes before understanding. Long before logic speaks, the soul already knows that stillness you felt. That sudden sense of "this is about me" is not imagination. It is spiritual awakening, activating in real time. This video reveals why recognition always precedes explanation, why your divine calling as a chosen one was awakened through silence, pressure, and delay, and why a true God's message never needs to shout or convince. It speaks once, and the soul responds. Stay with this until the end, because what you are about to realize will change how you see your past, your purpose, and what you are stepping into next. Hear this clearly now. Your life is about to make sense in reverse. Not forward, not the way you were taught to expect. Not in a straight line that moves neatly from cause to result. For the chosen one, clarity does not arrive before the journey. It arrives after endurance, after pressure, after seasons that made no sense while you were inside them. This message exists because you have reached the point where you are finally able to see backward with wisdom instead of pain. And that alone tells you how far your spiritual awakening has already progressed. Chosen one, your life did not unfold randomly. Even the moments you thought were mistakes were part of the design, especially those moments. The delays, the detours, the endings that hurt more than they should have. One day soon you will look back and realize those were not interruptions. They were positioning. Your life will begin to replay itself in reverse, and instead of confusion, you will see coherence. Instead of regret, you will see refinement. Instead of loss, you will see preparation. There were moments in your life where you felt delayed, disconnected, or out of place. Moments where you questioned why things unfolded the way they did, or why your path looked nothing like the paths of those around you. You may have wondered if you missed something, chose wrong, or fell behind. But the truth is, simpler and deeper than that. You were never meant to move in a straight line. Divine timing does not operate on human logic. It operates on readiness. And readiness is built through lived experience, not explanation. This is why this God's message reached you now and not earlier. Earlier, it would have sounded like noise. Earlier, it would have felt confusing. Earlier, your mind would have tried to control it. But now, something has shifted. You are no longer seeking answers the way you once did. You are listening. You are noticing patterns. You are feeling meaning instead of demanding proof. That is the sign of spiritual awakening maturing. That is how you know you are not starting this journey. You are remembering it. This message is a turning point. Not because everything suddenly changes outside of you, but because clarity is forming within you. And once clarity arrives, confusion loses its power. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not imagining the intensity of what you have lived through. The war was real. The pressure was real. The isolation was real. And so is your light. Your light was tested because it matters. Your calling carried weight before you ever had words for it. If this resonates, if something inside you feels seen, anchored, or awakened as you hear these words, comment 777 now, not for engagement, for alignment. Let it be a quiet signal that you recognize this moment and are willing to stand present within it. Return with me to the truth, and let it settle fully. This is a message from God. You are not imagining this. You were called before you understood the cost. You were shaped before you were shown the purpose. The resistance you faced was proportional to what you carry. And your life is not falling apart. It is lining up in a way that can only be understood backward. The chosen one is never chosen for comfort. They are chosen for impact. And impact requires depth. That depth was built in silence, in confusion, in endurance, and in faith you did not even realize you were exercising. Your spiritual awakening did not begin today. Today is simply the moment you became aware of how long it has been happening. Stand in this awareness. Let it ground you. Let it steady you. You are not alone in this path. Even when it felt that way, you are not late. You are aligned. And what you carry is needed, deeply, urgently, and intentionally. If this touched your soul, if you feel the truth of it vibrating somewhere deeper than thought, comment 111. Because you know it now. You were called. Why your life never followed a straight line. While others seem to move smoothly from one stage to the next, you experience stops, resets, and unexpected turns. You may have felt behind your peers, misunderstood by your family, or out of sync with the pace of the world around you. There were moments when you questioned your intelligence, your discipline, or even your worth. You watched people advance while you felt paused. You watched doors open for others while yours stayed closed. And quietly, without saying it out loud, you wondered if something was wrong with you. But nothing was wrong. Linear progress was never part of your assignment. Chosen one, return with me again to the beginning, because truth needs repetition to settle. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the way your life unfolded. You were not confused for no reason. You were not delayed by accident. And you were not moving backward while everyone else moved forward. You were called, and the moment someone is called, their path stops looking normal. From the outside, it may have appeared scattered, broken, or inconsistent. From the inside, it often felt exhausting, lonely, and unfair. But now, you are finally ready to understand why your life never followed a straight line. You were never meant to understand first and then grow. You were meant to grow first and then understand. That is the reversal most people never experience. Meaning does not announce itself in advance. Life purpose does not show up with instructions and guarantees. For the chosen one, clarity comes backward, only after endurance, only after mistakes that taught discernment, only after delays that built patience, only after endings that stripped away illusions. When you look back now, you may start to see that the moments you thought ruined your momentum were actually refining your direction. Your path looked illogical because it was not designed for the mind. It was designed for the soul, and the soul learns through contrast, pressure, and lived experience. This is why explanations were withheld. If you had known too much too early, fear would have stopped you, ego would have interfered, comparison would have distracted you. So instead, you were guided step by step, moment by moment, without the full picture. That was not cruelty. That was protection. Divine timing protected you from information you were not yet ready to carry. Divine timing does not follow calendars, timelines, or social expectations. Divine timing responds to readiness, depth, and inner alignment. And the chosen one cannot be rushed through shallow growth. What you were being prepared for required layers. It required experiences that could not be learned from books, advice, or observation. It required you to feel things deeply, to lose certainty, to stand alone at times, and to keep moving even when you could not see where the road was leading. That is why your spiritual awakening began in confusion instead of clarity. Now, as you stand here listening to this message from God, something inside you is beginning to connect. You are starting to see patterns where you once saw chaos. You are starting to recognize that nothing was wasted. Even the seasons that felt empty were shaping your capacity to hold meaning. That is backward clarity arriving. That is spiritual awakening deepening. And once this clarity begins, it does not stop. It keeps unfolding as memory after memory finds its place in the larger design. Your life purpose could not be revealed early because it had to be earned through endurance. Purpose without preparation becomes pressure. Calling without character becomes collapse. So the path curved. It slowed. It doubled back. Not to punish you, but to strengthen you. Every detour carried a lesson. Every delay carried a refinement. Every moment of feeling misunderstood trained you to trust your inner knowing instead of external approval. This is how the chosen one learns to walk without constant reassurance. Chosen one, the feeling of being out of sync was real, but it was not failure. It was separation. While others were building speed, you were building depth. While others were collecting validation, you were collecting wisdom. While others were chasing outcomes, you were being shaped internally for impact. The world rewards speed. God prepares substance, and substance takes time. That is why your spiritual awakening did not look dramatic or glamorous. It looked quiet. It looked confusing. It looked like standing still while everything else moved. Return again to this truth and let it anchor you. You are not imagining the weight of what you lived through. The war was real. The resistance was real. The pressure was real. And it was real because your light is necessary. What you carry cannot be common, and common paths could never shape uncommon purpose. You were called to walk a different road so you could see what others miss, feel what others avoid, and stand steady where others collapse. If this touched your soul, if you feel the truth of it settling deep within you, comment 111. Because you know it now. You were called. This is a message from God, and it arrives now because you are ready to receive it. You no longer need life to make sense forward. You are beginning to understand it backward. And that understanding is power. That understanding is peace. That understanding is confirmation that you were never lost. You were being led. The role of pain, isolation, and delay in your awakening. Chosen one, return again to the beginning, because truth must be revisited before it can be fully received. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the weight you carried. You are not exaggerating the loneliness you felt. And you were not singled out for suffering without purpose. You were called. And when a divine calling and chosen one is activated, life does not soften, it intensifies. Not to break you, but to prepare you. The isolation you experienced was not abandonment, it was alignment. There were seasons where connections faded, conversations thinned, and support seemed to disappear at the exact moments you needed it most. That silence was painful, confusing, and at times unbearable. But it was not random. Silence is where discernment is sharpened. When outside voices fall away, inner truth finally becomes audible. God removes noise before revealing direction. This is why so many answers were withheld while you were surrounded by questions. You were being trained to listen inward, not outward. Pain was one of your greatest teachers, even though it never announced itself that way. Emotional pressure, repeated disappointment, and unanswered prayers carved depth into you that comfort never could. Each moment that forced you to sit with uncertainty expanded your capacity to understand others, to see beneath surfaces, and to recognize truth without explanation. This is the hidden work of spiritual awakening. It does not arrive with fireworks. It arrives with pressure that reshapes perception. You questioned yourself often during these seasons. You wondered why progress felt slow, why relief took so long, and why clarity seemed always just out of reach. But delay was doing something essential. Delay was removing impatience. Delay was exposing attachments. Delay was teaching you how to remain steady without guarantees. That kind of strength cannot be taught directly. It must be lived into existence. And while you thought nothing was happening, everything was happening beneath the surface. The divine calling and chosen one path almost always includes periods where nothing makes sense. That is not failure. That is initiation. In those quiet, unseen stretches of time, your spirit was learning resilience. Your heart was learning compassion. Your mind was learning humility. And your soul was learning how to stand without constant reassurance. These are not small lessons. These are foundational qualities required for anyone whose light is meant to impact others. Spiritual awakening is often misunderstood as sudden clarity or peace. In truth, it usually begins as disruption. It unsettles old beliefs, dismantles false identities, and exposes wounds that were long ignored. The discomfort you felt was evidence that something deeper was coming online. Pain did not mean you were off track. Pain meant something within you was being awakened and expanded. That expansion required space, and space often looks like loneliness. You were being shaped in private, so you would not seek validation in public. You were being tested in silence, so your strength would not depend on applause. This is why no one saw how hard you fought internally. This is why your growth went unnoticed. The most important transformations never happen under observation. They happen in moments where quitting feels easier than continuing, and yet something inside you refuses to stop. This is a message from God, and it arrives now because you are finally able to reinterpret your past without bitterness. You are beginning to see that nothing was wasted. The tears taught you empathy. The waiting taught you trust. The isolation taught you self-reliance and divine reliance. And the unanswered questions trained you to live without needing control. These are not losses. These are preparations. The war you fought was real. Not everyone faces that kind of internal resistance. Not everyone is forced to confront themselves so deeply, but the intensity of the battle always corresponds to the necessity of the light. You were pressed because what you carry matters. You were refined because your presence changes environments. And you were tested because your strength needed to be real, not borrowed. Now, as this God's message settles into you, recognize what it confirms. You did not survive those seasons by accident. You survived because you were being built for something that requires depth, steadiness, and spiritual authority. Your awakening was not loud, but it was thorough. It was not quick, but it was lasting. And it continues now with greater awareness and peace than before. Stand in this truth. Let it empower you. You were never weak. You were being trained. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. And you were never alone, even when it felt that way. The light you carry is necessary, and the world will feel it in ways you cannot yet measure. If this touched your soul, if these words unlocked understanding where there was once pain, comment 111. Because you know it now, you were called. Why understanding comes after obedience, not before. Chosen one, return once more to the beginning, because alignment deepens through remembrance. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the way your life required movement before explanation. You were called, and when calling activates, clarity does not lead, it follows. The path you walked demanded obedience before understanding, endurance before reassurance, and surrender before certainty. This was not a test of intelligence. It was a test of trust. There were moments when you were asked to move without a map, to let go without a guarantee, and to continue without confirmation. You felt the nudge to leave, to stop, to wait, or to begin again, even when logic protested. Your mind wanted reasons, your heart wanted proof, but the instruction arrived without context. This is how divine timing protects purpose. Explanation given too early invites interference. Ego negotiates. Fear delays. Control distorts. So action came first and meaning was withheld. Obedience is not blind submission. It is alignment in motion. It is the quiet decision to respond to truth before the mind fully agrees. You followed impulses you could not explain. You stayed when leaving seemed easier. You left when staying felt safer. Each time the choice felt costly. Each time it felt risky. And each time something within you grew stronger. That growth was the point. Alignment was being built long before clarity arrived. God's message often comes as a direction rather than a description. It asks for movement, not analysis. It asks for faith, not forecasts. The chosen one is not led by constant explanation, because explanation can become a crutch. If you had known everything in advance, you might have hesitated, delayed, or attempted to control outcomes. So instead, you were guided step by step with just enough light for the next move. That is divine timing at work, precise, intentional, and protective. Spiritual awakening matures when the need for constant answers loosens its grip. Early awakening seeks signs. Deeper awakening trusts alignment. You reached a point where you no longer needed to be convinced. You acted because something inside you knew that knowing did not come from logic. It came from lived experience. Each obedient step trained your nervous system to remain steady in uncertainty. Each surrendered outcome taught your spirit how to release attachment. This is how readiness is formed. Your life purpose could not be understood early because it had to be embodied first. Purpose is not an idea to be memorized. It is a reality to be lived. You were becoming the message before you could articulate it. You were learning compassion by feeling pain, humility by facing limits, and courage by continuing without applause. These qualities cannot be taught through explanation. They emerge through obedience under pressure. Now, only now, the mind is ready to understand what the soul already lived through. This is why reflection feels different today. You are no longer trying to justify the past. You are recognizing it. Memories that once felt confusing now feel instructive. Decisions that once felt impulsive now feel precise. Losses that once felt cruel now feel formative. This backward clarity is the reward of alignment. It is the confirmation that obedience was not wasted. This is a message from God, and it arrives at this moment because your awareness has caught up with your experience. You are no longer asking, "Why did this happen to me?" You are beginning to see, "What was this preparing me for?" That shift changes everything. It transforms endurance into authority. It turns survival into wisdom. It converts confusion into calling. The war you faced was real. It was not only external resistance, but internal negotiation, the battle between fear and faith, control and surrender. You won that war not by overpowering it, but by moving forward anyway. Your light is necessary, and necessary light must be stable. Stability is forged through obedience when understanding is incomplete. That is why you are steady now in ways you were not before. Stand in this empowerment. You did not fail when you lacked clarity. You succeeded when you chose alignment. You were not reckless. You were responsive. You were not lost. You were led. Divine timing carried you through each decision, even when outcomes were unclear. And now the understanding that follows obedience is arriving like a quiet sunrise, gradual, certain, and irreversible. Let this truth settle. You were called to trust before you were shown. You were shaped before you were told why. And you were protected from explanations that would have slowed your becoming. This is how God's message works in the life of the chosen one. Action opens the way. Understanding follows. If this touched your soul, if these words confirm what you already know deep inside, comment 111 because you know it now. You were called. The moment everything starts connecting backward. Chosen one, return again to the beginning, because this is where revelation becomes complete. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what is happening inside you right now. You were called. And what you are experiencing in this season is not confusion lifting by chance. It is clarity arriving by divine timing. This is the moment when your life begins to make sense in reverse, not as fragments, but as one continuous design. There comes a point in every true spiritual awakening when the past reorganizes itself, not emotionally, but spiritually. Memories that once carried pain now carry meaning. Choices you once questioned now reveal their purpose. Losses that felt like endings now look like redirections. It happens quietly at first. A thought connects, a memory softens, a pattern reveals itself. And suddenly you realize that nothing in your life existed on its own. Everything was linked, layered, and intentional. This is the maturity of spiritual awakening. Not excitement, not searching, but recognition. Recognition that what felt random was precise. Recognition that what felt delayed was protected. Recognition that what felt like failure was formation. You begin to see how every version of you was preparing the next version. The strength you needed later was built earlier. The wisdom you carry now was earned through confusion you once resented. This is backward clarity, and it only comes to the chosen one when endurance has done its work. You may notice that old moments replay differently now. Situations that once caused anger no longer carry charge. People who once hurt you no longer define you. Paths you didn't take no longer haunt you. This is not because those things didn't matter. It's because you finally understand what they gave you. Perspective replaces pain. Meaning replaces regret. And peace replaces the need to rewrite the past. Divine timing reveals itself most clearly in hindsight. You start to see how being delayed saved you from what you were not ready to hold. How being rejected redirected you toward alignment. How being isolated taught you discernment. How being misunderstood trained you to trust your inner knowing. This is not optimism. This is recognition. And recognition is evidence that your awakening has deepened into wisdom. Chosen one, nothing was wasted. Not your tears, not your waiting, not the years that felt slow, not the decisions you second-guessed. Everything contributed to your readiness. Every experience carved capacity, every challenge refined character, every setback strengthened spiritual authority. You were not being stalled, you were being structured. And now the structure is strong enough to hold purpose. Life purpose does not arrive as an announcement. It emerges as alignment. You do not suddenly become someone new. You realize you have been becoming all along. The skills you developed unintentionally, the empathy you gained through hardship, the resilience you built without applause, all of it begins to converge. You see how your story positions you to serve, to lead, to create, or to heal in ways that only you can. That is when purpose stops feeling abstract and starts feeling embodied. This is a message from God, and it reaches you now because you are no longer asking for proof. You are seeing evidence everywhere you look backward. The dots are connecting. The confusion is resolving. The question is no longer, why did this happen? The question becomes, how could it have happened any other way? That shift is powerful. It grounds you. It stabilizes you. It gives you quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by comparison or doubt. The war you fought was real. It was not imagined. It was not exaggerated. It was necessary, and it forged something unmovable within you. Your light is necessary, and necessary light must be anchored in truth, not illusion. That is why your journey required depth instead of ease. That is why your awakening took time. That is why your clarity arrives now, steady and unforced. Stand in this revelation. Let it fill you with gratitude instead of grief. Let it replace self-blame with self-respect. You did the work. You endured. You stayed present through uncertainty. And now the reward is understanding that does not fade when circumstances change. This understanding belongs to you because you earned it through lived experience. Your life is no longer a collection of disconnected events. It is a story that makes sense from the inside out. And as you move forward now, you do so with backward wisdom. You trust your instincts. You honor your timing. You no longer rush what requires depth. This is what it means to walk as a chosen one who knows who they are. Return once more to the truth and let it settle completely. This is a message from God. You are not imagining this clarity. You were called. The war was real. Your light is necessary. And now you are ready to walk in your life purpose with understanding that cannot be taken from you. If this touched your soul, if these words brought peace where there was once confusion, comment 111. Because you know it now, you were called. Stepping forward with backward wisdom, closing activation. Chosen one, return one final time to the beginning, because completion brings everything full circle. This is a God's message. You are not imagining the calm settling into you now. You were called. And this message did not arrive to excite you, impress you, or momentarily uplift you. It arrived because you were finally ready to receive it without distortion, ready to hold truth without fear, ready to move forward without confusion, ready to trust divine timing instead of resisting it. What you carry now is backward wisdom. Wisdom earned through experience, not theory. Wisdom formed by living through uncertainty and coming out anchored instead of bitter. This is not the kind of clarity that shouts. It is the kind that steadies. As you move forward, understanding will continue unfolding, not all at once, but layer by layer, exactly as you need it. You no longer need everything explained in advance. You have learned that clarity follows alignment, and alignment follows trust. You are stepping into the next phase of your life differently now. You are not chasing signs. You are recognizing patterns. You are not forcing outcomes. You are responding to inner knowing. This is what it looks like when spiritual awakening matures into embodiment. You walk with awareness instead of urgency. You listen before reacting. You choose with discernment instead of fear. This is not passivity. This is power under control. Affirm this within yourself now. You are the chosen one, not because you are superior, but because you were willing to endure what others avoided. You were shaped by lived experience. Your divine calling and chosen one path required depth, resilience, and humility. That preparation is complete enough for this next step. You do not need to become someone else. You need only to be fully present as who you already are. Divine timing will continue guiding you, but now you will recognize it sooner. You will feel when to move and when to wait. You will sense when something aligns and when it drains. That sensitivity was trained through hardship. That discernment was earned through silence. And that steadiness was forged through inner wars no one else saw. The war was real, but so is the strength that came from it. This God's message did not arrive to tell you what to do next. It arrived to remind you who you are. When identity is clear, direction follows naturally. You no longer need to prove yourself, rush outcomes, or explain your path to those who do not understand it. Your life will speak for itself. Your presence will carry weight. Your words will land differently. This is what happens when a chosen one walks forward with backward wisdom. There will still be challenges ahead. Alignment does not remove resistance. It removes confusion. When obstacles appear, you will no longer interpret them as signs of failure. You will read them as instructions. When delays happen, you will not panic. You will listen. When doors close, you will trust that something more aligned is opening. This is not blind faith. This is experienced faith. Faith built on evidence gathered over a lifetime. Return again to the truth and let it anchor you deeply. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the transformation within you. You were called long before you understood why. Your life unfolded exactly as it needed to, in order to prepare you for what comes next. Your light is necessary, and now it is stable enough to shine without burning you out. If you feel this alignment now, if your spirit feels steady, grounded, and quietly affirmed, comment 777, not for attention, for confirmation. Let it mark the moment you recognized yourself in this message and accepted the next chapter with trust. As you move forward, remember this: clarity will keep meeting you as long as you keep walking in alignment. You do not need to rush revelation. You live it. Each step will reveal the next, just as it always has. Only now you walk without the weight of self-doubt. You walk with understanding that your past was not a mistake, your delays were not failures, and your endurance was not unnoticed. This is how the journey continues. Not louder, but deeper. Not faster, but truer. You are no longer trying to make life make sense. You are allowing it to reveal itself. That is peace. That is authority. That is readiness. Circle back one last time and let this seal the message. This is a message from God. You are not imagining this calling. You were chosen. The war you fought was real. The preparation was intentional, and your light is necessary now more than ever. If this touched your soul, if this message confirmed what you already know in your deepest place, comment 111, because you know it now without doubt or hesitation. You were called.